All right, let's set the stage here. It's 1964, University of Michigan. The whole country is still trying to find its footing after JFK's assassination. And President Lyndon B. Johnson, he gets up to speak. But he's not there to look back. He's there to look forward, to launch this truly audacious challenge for America's future.
And this right here, this was the heart of it. Johnson was asking a whole generation of young people to think bigger, to imagine a country that was aiming for something way beyond just more money and more power. We're talking about a complete rethink of what success even means for a nation.
So you hear this term, the Great Society. But what was it really? It wasn't just some catchy political slogan. It was a genuine blueprint for a whole new kind of American dream. And that's what we're going to dig into, what he was proposing and why it still matters so much today. Now, to really get the Great Society, you've got to understand the moment it was born into. The early 1960s were, well, a time of massive contradiction. America was truly at a crossroads. And this really gets to the core attention of the time. On one side, you had this picture-perfect 1950s dream, the post-war boom, the house in the suburbs, the shiny new car. And for a lot of people, that was real. But then there was the other side of the coin, a brutal reality for millions of Americans facing crushing poverty and the deep, ugly injustice of racial segregation.
So, with all this going on, the Cold War, the space race, capturing everyone's imagination, people started asking some really big questions. Is progress just about building bigger rockets? Is it just about the economy getting bigger every year? Or does real progress, mean something more? And right into that moment of national soul-searching steps President Johnson. He sees all this uncertainty, and he decides to offer an answer.
So there he is, in front of all these college kids, and he basically throws down a challenge. He tells them, look, your generation's job isn't just to make America richer. The real work is to use all this prosperity we have to make America better, more just, more beautiful. Now, this is a really important point. Johnson wasn't trying to throw out the American dream, not at all. He was trying to give it an upgrade, to make it bigger, deeper, and more meaningful for the times they were living in. And this quote just nails that philosophical shift. He was questioning the basic idea that it's all about gross domestic product. Instead, he was saying, hey, maybe the real report card for a country isn't about the stuff we make, but about the quality of life for the people who live here. And that, in a nutshell, was the Great Society. It's this vision of America where success is measured by whether every kid can get a good education, whether our cities are places we're proud to live in, whether our communities are strong. It was about valuing human potential over just raw production. Okay, so that's the grand idea, the big vision. But how do you actually build something like that? Well, Johnson laid out a pretty clear plan. It was built on 3 core pillars. And for him, these were totally non-negotiable. First, wage a war on poverty. Use the nation's incredible wealth to finally tackle it head-on. Second, end racial injustice. Make good on the promises America was founded on. And third, improve everyone's quality of life by investing in things like education, healthcare, and our environment. For Johnson, this wasn't just policy, it was a moral duty. And believe me, this wasn't just talk. This vision was turned into some of the most historic, game-changing laws this country has ever seen. We're talking the Civil Rights Act, the creation of Medicare and Medicaid, the Voting Rights Act. These were the actual tools, the nuts and bolts for building the Great Society. I love this quote because it really gets to the soul of the project. Johnson just understood that people need more than just a paycheck and a roof over their heads. We crave connection, community, a sense of purpose. And he believed that a truly great nation had to feed that hunger too. Of course, when you aim that high, you're bound to run into some serious challenges. And the story of the Great Society is definitely not a simple one. Its legacy is messy, it's complicated, and you could argue it's still very much a work in progress. When you look back, you really see these 2 sides of the story. On the one hand, just monumental achievements. Millions of people were lifted out of poverty. Real legal barriers to equality finally started to come down. But then there was Vietnam. The war became this massive black hole, sucking up not just money, but the public's trust in government itself. So all that incredible optimism of the mid-60s, it pretty quickly smashed into the harsh realities of a deeply divided nation. You had huge anti-war protests, riots in major cities,
And this growing feeling that, hey, maybe government can't solve every deep-seated problem, that really started to chip away at the support for the Great Society. But despite all the backlash and the very real limits on what it accomplished, you have to just step back and acknowledge the sheer scale of the ambition here. Johnson challenged the entire country to rethink its fundamental purpose. And that challenge, well, it absolutely echoes through our politics today. And that leaves us with the big, critical question from Johnson's speech, one that feels just as urgent today as it did back in 1964. If just getting richer isn't the only goal, then what is? What is the ultimate purpose of our society? What kind of greatness should we be striving for right now?